This is how I imagine Trump's cabinet meetings go.
Well, and I really think that we should be focusing on the economy, especially with the conflict in our...
Jesus.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, what?
Post an AI picture of me as Jesus.
Well, to be frank with you, Mr. President, I don't see how that would help us with the economy, and also...
Stop talking. Jesus, make me Jesus right now. And then we're going to tell the media that it's the Red Cross, okay? It's clearly a picture of me as Jesus, but we're going to tell them that they're idiots if they think it's not. If they think it's Jesus, they're wrong. It's fake news. But it is.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, but I just can't condone this kind of behavior.
Take him away and find me a new secretary of whatever he's in charge of.
You can't do this.
I can do whatever I want, quite frankly. Believe me, we're looking into it. And can somebody please get me a Diet Coke?
A regular job, or you depend on other people, or you depend on, if you're a school teacher or whatever, that the slightest mishap, that's the slightest mistake, you wearing a certain uniform or whatever, could be your downfall. It could be your demise as far as your finances. So I get it. You guys want to be pro whatever, you want to speak out, and this ain't even applicable to just liberals or Republicans or conservatives or Democrats or whatever. The point is that whatever you do, make sure you preserve the bag. Make sure that you take care of your family. Make sure you have the ability to feed yourself. Because when all of these people are putting a battery in your back saying what you should say or how you should move and all of this stuff, guess what? They're not doing it. They're using a moniker. They are hiding behind ghost profiles so that they control. They saying some of the most egregious stuff. They are basically being tools, but they are not doing the same thing that they're trying to put a battery in your back are doing, right? So protect the bag, protect yourself, your ability to feed yourself. That is always going to be priority number one. If you can't help yourself, if you can't survive yourself, you are going to be in trouble. Make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You will be in trouble. Now, that's number one. Number two, who was asking y'all for y'all opinion to where you willing to put your job on the line or your earnings or your potential on the line to say some of this stuff? And again, I know that social media is relatively new. We build on the plane as we fly it. But again, who is asking y'all for y'all opinion to the point to where it then leads you to jeopardize your ability to feed yourself on these videos? But I will say that how do we know that his piercings, the way that he looks, because I want to explore all aspects of this video. His piercings, the way that he look, he's wearing a bonnet, that all of these things are not also affecting his employment. You seem like, sir, respectfully, that you make bad decisions regularly, and that is what is hindering your ability to be able to feed yourself and get a job. You seem like you are a crash dummy, and it has nothing to do with race, because plenty of white people have got on this app and started crying, oh my God, I lost my teacher job. Oh my God, this and that. And again, I don't believe in calling people's jobs and removing their ability to be able to feed themselves and, messing up their family and their income. But you can't run in the Victim Olympics and try to act like it's a black or white thing and that you are the only person that is criticizing the Trump administration. Plenty of people do all the time, and they don't get this type of headache, feedback, pushback, any of that stuff. So, yeah, man, just be careful what you say and how you moving, because it could be you, and I don't know who he's comparing himself to.
Watch your back. These people don't care about you.
So apparently I'm being canceled. Yeah. Before I even had a chance to blow up too, like, how ridiculous. The other morning, I received a DM from an anonymous account telling me that if I'm real, I should know that people are blocking me because I sold Target. And at first I was kind of
95% of Americans will be paying an increase in their taxes this year after the big, beautiful bill was signed. So the 20% of the poorest in this country, you make less than $27,000. Baby, your shit is going up 3.1%. If you make between 26 and 51,000, it's going up 2.1%. In the middle, 53, 92,000, up 1.2%. If you're in the fourth percentile, you make between 92,000 and 153,000, it's going up 0.8%. And baby, if you make 153,000 to 361,000, it's only going up 0.3%. Now, if you are in the top percentile, next level shit, you're going to get a decrease of 1%. And that is 361,000 to almost a million. And if you're over a million, baby, you're making less. I'm sorry, you're not making less. You're getting less taxes pulled from you, like 0.4%. Does this shit seem fair? Does this shit seem fair? He's pocketing money. He's also making money off this because he still has to file taxes. And his people are making money off of this. And we're getting poorer and poorer while food prices go up. Rent goes up. Gas goes up. Light bills go up because AI systems. Jobs are nowhere near to be found because AI is taking over everything. This is what Make America Great Again looks like.
In what he called the birthplace of his no tax on tips policy, President Trump touted how now more tips that happen in Vegas get to stay in Vegas.
Everybody is looking at their tax return. They're getting tremendous amounts of money back, much more than they thought.
But many we met here say rising gas prices due to the Iran war are erasing those gains.
We save a little bit of money on taxes, but we're paying so much more for groceries and for gas and for everything.
Prices are all up everywhere. Gas prices are astronomical.
Before leaving for Las Vegas, the president was asked about his feud with the Pope over the war.
I'm not fighting with it. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Pope Leo has never said Iran should have a nuclear weapon. And traveling in Africa, the Pope denounced what he called the masters of war.
Woe to those who manipulate religion in the very name of God for their own military, economic, or political gain.
Pressed on whether he would be willing to meet with the Pope, Trump said,
I don't think it's necessary.
The president also insisted Iran already agreed not to have a nuclear weapon.
Iran wants to make a deal, and we're dealing very nicely with them. We've got to have no nuclear weapons.
He said the next round of negotiations could take place as soon as this weekend. But if they fail,
if there's no deal, fight and resume.
And President Trump will continue his economic pitch on the road today. Later this afternoon, he'll travel to Phoenix, Arizona to headline a Turning Point USA rally, attempting to court young voters ahead of those midterm elections.
How much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon with the danger that entails. So the gas prices have come down very much over the last 3-4 days. I know, that's what ABC says. But the fact is that if you look at the stock market's up, everything's doing really well.
Our president is an out-of-touch dolt, and that's putting it nicely, because does he really think someone who's living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford gas right now gives a fuck about how the stock market is doing? Because I don't think they do. I think they're more concerned with the price of gas. The national average price of gas has surged to over $4 because of Trump's war of choice with Iran. For a billionaire like Trump, who probably hasn't pumped his own gas in decades, probably since he last filled his Lamborghini's gas tank back in the 90s, he can't comprehend what $4 a gallon means for the average working American. Trump bases everything based on how rich people are doing. So if the price of gas is high, he doesn't give a fuck how that impacts you. All he cares about is the stock market and how him and his billionaire buddies are doing.
All right, let's bring it back to what actually matters, the political climate in America, everything happening politically, things like that. Rather than discuss the latest headline of the latest bullshit that the Trump administration has done, I hope that people understand that removing Donald Trump from office or voting somebody completely different into office in 2028, I hope we all understand that that is not some end-all, be-all, solve the problem. The system under which this country operates is fucked, top to bottom. You have performative-ass Democrats. You have evil-ass Republicans. The citizens are constantly forced to pick the lesser of two evils. Whoever they elect, whoever they choose to represent them, faces little to no consequences or accountability when they fail intentionally to represent the people. This is why I speak so much lately on ping pong politics. This is why I say so confidently that if we vote somebody else in 2028, we'll be right back where we are right now by 2040. We have to look at the broad scope of things. We have to start talking about much more than, We need to get past MAGA 2.0. Getting past MAGA 2.0 does not mean that we'll never see a rebranded version of MAGA. Racism and misogyny is allowed to run rampant in this country with little to no consequences or accountability. Cover-ups, corruption, stealing from everyday working citizens who pay their taxes is allowed to run rampant in this country. These corporations are allowed to fuck over hundreds of thousands, even millions of clients with little to no consequences. If we can't start addressing and changing these large-scale issues, the way Congress has acted the entirety of MAGA 2.0, the entirety of the second Trump administration, is unacceptable. The most biased, capitulating Congress I have ever seen in my lifetime. Same with the judiciary branch. Lifetime appointments are fucking crazy. You should not be able to show clear bias, clear racism, clear capitulation, and keep your lifetime appointment. Lifetime appointments should not be a thing at all. I genuinely think that this country is long overdue for a third party. Too many times do we have to put our faith in the Democrats. They disappoint us. Evil motherfuckers vote for the Republicans, who we know are going to fuck us over, and then they fuck us over and face little to no consequences. If anything, we should be very loud, never getting tired of speaking about the need for a third party in this country. 250 years. We got rid of slavery, hell yeah. A lot of civil rights have been implemented, hell yeah. A lot of positive things have been implemented, hell yeah. But there's so much negative bullshit. You think the birth rate dropping is some wild coincidence, some big anti-Christian movement? No, the cost of living is fucking insane. There is no way in hell it should be fucking normalized that one-bedroom apartments are $1,500 plus, no matter where the fuck you live. That is insane. The fact that most homeowners in this country are over the age of 40 is fucking insane. None of this shit should be normal. Access to healthcare, difficult. Hella difficult. Access to something as simple as affordable housing, difficult. Hella difficult. No type of gun laws whatsoever. So when the Democrats fail to deliver and then the Republicans continue to do evil corruption type bullshit over and over and over again, why are we not screaming and forcing the implementation of a third party that's taken seriously, on paper, amend the Constitution type shit? I don't want to deal with this bullshit for the rest of my fucking life. I will quickly leave this country. Whoop-de-fucking-do, but that's definitely on my to-do list because I'm not doing this ping-pong politics bullshit for the entirety of my life. Other countries have figured it out. Other countries don't walk around boasting about how climate change is a fake hoax when there's a mountain of evidence that shows that it's not. This country is embarrassing. Reading comprehension is at the fucking floor. Literacy is at the fucking floor. Other countries saying Americans are stupid, they have a lot of warranted reasoning to say that. This country is fucking dumb. We should be embarrassed. We should be infuriated. Affordable education. What the fuck is why do they preach be a proud American and be a patriot and all this shit, and then they give us no reason to do that? They give us no reason to be a patriot and a proud American. None whatsoever. If you gave the American people reasons to be proud, they would be proud. affordable housing, affordable healthcare, affordable education. 3 things that should be that's like the base level, man. That's like level 1 starter default character type shit, man. These multimillionaires, these fucking billionaire corporations just allowed to run rampant and screw over the lower and middle class for decades on end is fucking insane. That's the big picture. Yes, we need to focus on the small details and the headlines that are popping up every day, every week, and we need to slow down or completely stop the Trump administration. Yes. But again, we will be right back here by 2040 at the absolute latest if we don't figure out a way to change the system entirely. They just came out like a month ago. The Supreme Court said that Trump defunding PBS was against the First Amendment. I believe it was 10 months after he signed that executive order, after he defunded PBS. It took the Supreme Court 10 months to decide on whether something was unconstitutional or not. They just now came out and said that the tariffs were in fact illegal when we have been screaming that shit since he fucking announced all the tariffs, especially the retaliatory tariffs. Now they come out and say, oh yeah, it was definitely illegal, unconstitutional. We're not in a position to have this delayed justice bullshit continue. We're not. America doesn't just need a political change for the current political climate. We need an entire change in the system, top to fucking bottom. That is the only way. This ping pong politics bullshit, that is the only way this stops. We cannot keep doing this. 4 years of progress, 8 years of stepping back. 8 years of progress, 4 years of stepping back. We cannot keep doing this back and forth bullshit. That's what's ruining the country. American citizens who claim to live in the most free, wealthiest country in the fucking world, you're living in delusion. This is not the most free country in the world. This is not the wealthiest country in the world. You are not the most privileged person in the world because you're an American citizen. You're a victim of propaganda and bullshit. And you need to get much louder about it before generation after generation after generation after generation has to suffer from exactly that. Corrupt, inexplicable, illogical bullshit.
So this is the moment. We're back. The president is supposedly pivoting to focus on economic messaging, which members of the GOP are begging and pleading him to do because the midterms are around the corner. And remember, Donald Trump ran on lowering prices on nearly everything. But that is not only not what he's done, think about what he's focusing on. The war in Iran, fighting with the Pope, and it's safe to say, sending a whole lot of unhinged social media posts in the last week alone.
The Democrats like to use the word affordability, but their affordability was terrible.
The word affordability is a con job by the Democrats.
They have a new word. You know, they always have a hoax. The new word is affordability. They'd look at the camera, say, affordability. And I'd be watching, I'd say, oh, I can't believe it. Do people believe it?
But messaging is only part of the problem because Donald Trump just isn't overseeing an economy with some woes. He's the person making the choices that cause these woes. The trade war? Well, that's on Donald Trump. Your gas prices going up? Well, that is strictly because of the war on Iran that Donald Trump started. And as it relates to very aggressive immigration policies, the president attacking higher education or science, all of those things are slowing our economic growth. So the president, it's a 1-2 punch. He's got to get on message when it comes to the economy. But even when he gets on message, what exactly is the story? Because our struggles came from him. And I thought you should know.
Stop scrolling because in less than 8 days, Trump's reconstruction program is going to retire regular people overnight. save this video, watch it till the end before it gets taken down. We're watching countries literally being bombed right now. The damages is gonna cost hundreds of billions to fix it, but Trump is planning on rebuilding everything using assets from Greenland and Iran. We're talking about billions in frozen assets like gold, silver, oil, all that stuff. Instead of getting eaten by inflation, they're gonna tokenize it. Obviously, I had to do some digging, and what I found literally blew my mind. Trump is announcing the International Rebuilding Trust on April 25th. As you can see on this article, he's not lying. I went and checked this up on DexScreener, and there's a full-on crypto coin literally titled IRT, short for International Rebuilding Trust, sitting at only $6 million in market cap. I've already seen a bunch of insiders slowly loading up on this coin. If you don't know where to grab this token at, I linked the app that I use in my bio. There's already a bunch of insiders buying this shit up. You don't want to miss out. But at the moment, the smart money is already positioning themselves early for the Trump crypto conference. And I genuinely believe at that conference, he's going to literally be speaking about this coin. But the way I see it is this: if only 1% of that $1 billion literally flows into IRT, this coin could literally go over $1 very easily. Look, there's a lot of fakes of this coin. I'm going to drop the CA down below. And if you don't know where to grab this token at, I've linked the app that I use in my bio. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss out, bro.
If you know anyone in Las Vegas, I'm going to ask you to tag them in the comments below, because Donald Trump is heading there today to talk up his big bullshit bill, specifically the no taxes on tips part, and we're going to do the math and see if it actually works out for the average tipped worker. According to CBS News, the average tax refund this year is up about $350 from last year. Now that's the nationwide average, not a part-time tipped worker in Las Vegas, but stick with me here, because if that $350 seems like a good start, consider that economists from Stanford estimate that the average American household will spend $740 extra alone on gas this year. On top of that, they estimate $171 in increased grocery costs due to inflation alone, which is why all in, the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy estimates the average working family is going to spend $900 more on taxes than they did last year, due exclusively to Donald Trump's economic policy. But still, he's in Las Vegas talking specifically to tipped workers. So let's follow him there, because the no taxes on tips policy allows workers to deduct $25,000 in tips from their taxable income. And it applies only to your federal income tax, which means tipped workers have to make so much that they clear the standard deduction, which is $15,750, and then at that point they claim up to $25,000 extra in tips, 100% of which is still subject to the Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid tax. Those are the other taxes on your paycheck, and then at that point we're still only talking about reducing your taxable income, not a direct tax credit. And right now the average tipped worker in Las Vegas makes only $28,000 to $33,000 a year, and because Las Vegas has a minimum wage of $12 an hour thanks exclusively to service unions, for the average full-time worker in Las Vegas, the majority of their income is from wages and not from tips, which means for that average tipped worker in Las Vegas making around $30,000 a year, Donald Trump's tax cut for tipped workers is going to be close to zero because you already don't pay income tax. Meanwhile, for a bartender working full-time who might make $70,000 a year, Trump's tax cut won't even cover the increase in cost of gas you need to get to work.
America produces more oil than any country on earth. So why is your gas going up? I did my master's in business with a concentration in data analytics and statistics, so supply and demand curves are something that I've studied extensively. And I want to clear up a little bit of confusion because of something that Trump said during a press conference. On April 1st, Trump told the American people that we are insulated from the oil crisis because of our domestic oil production. Gas hit $4 per gallon on the same day he said it. He's wrong, for the record, and here's exactly why. All right, let's start with the basics. So this is a supply and demand curve. On the y-axis, so the up and down axis, you have price. So, you know, $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. Then you have quantity on the x-axis, so the horizontal line. On the graph itself, you see this X, the downward sloping line is the demand curve, and the upward sloping line is the supply curve. So the point at which they meet is called the equilibrium price, and that is the given price, right? So whatever, see where that P is? That is the price for this quantity of oil, you know, where that X meets on the line. And this applies to everything from commodities like corn and pork to sneakers and oil. So now we're going to see what happens when supply drops. So this is just like the last graph. You see the orange X, that is the supply and demand curve. Now, when the supply of something goes down, meaning there is less of that thing, the price of that thing goes up. So you assume that demand is the same, like people are still going to be using as much oil to power their cars and transit food and turn on the lights. So demand has not changed. That's why the D line is the same where it is. But now you can see this purple supply line. This is the new supply, the quantity. Now apply that to what just happened in the Strait of Hormuz. You had 20% of the world's oil supply just turn off overnight. The global oil supply dropped by an estimated 4 to 5 million barrels per day when the strait closed. So that's what's going to account for the shift, the leftward shift of the supply line. So what happens on the graph when the supply line shifts leftward? You can see that the P, the original P, was at, let's say, $73 per barrel. And now you trace, because of that leftward shift, you are now at this P1 value. So an increase in the price of oil, so like $120 per barrel, because demand has stayed the same. Now, here's where the confusion comes in, and I understand why people are confused. You see, the United States is the world's largest oil producer. We produce more. Shut up! Shut up, Bonsai! Shut up! Can't get anything done around here. Now, the United States is the world's largest oil producer. We produce more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than anywhere else. It's about 13 million barrels per day. So the question is if we produce more oil than anywhere else, why do we care about what happens in the Persian Gulf? And the answer is because oil is not priced locally. It's traded on a global market. So whether it comes out of a well in Texas or in the Persian Gulf, it's one global supply of oil, and therefore there is a global price, equilibrium price at a given quantity for that oil. So when global supply drops anywhere, prices go up everywhere. And it doesn't just stop at gas prices, because oil isn't just used for fuel. It's also used in plastic. It's also used to produce electricity. So everything that uses oil then gets more expensive. And all those increased costs of production and transport get passed on to you in the grocery line and every time you check out. And there's a deeper layer that I've covered in other videos, so I'm going to keep this brief, but it has to do with why oil is priced in US dollars specifically. And it goes back to a 1974 agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia that agreed to globally price oil in US dollars, and that's what we call the petrodollar. It's a pretty simple deal. It's just that Saudi Arabia will trade all of its oil in dollars in exchange for the United States military protection. And every country that needs oil is essentially required to have a reserve of US dollars in order to purchase it. And that is what makes the US dollar the global reserve currency. And it's what keeps us from going bankrupt when we have a $40 trillion deficit. And that system is already under strain because of this war. Because Iran has already announced that they will let ships transit the strait if they purchase their oil in the Chinese yuan. Now, since we've already covered this in another video, but if you want me to go deeper on the petrodollar and what its collapse would mean for the US economy, just let me know in the comments below and I will make that video. But the bottom line is this. Trump said that we are insulated from this crisis, but the reality is we're not. And understanding this will insulate you from propaganda and misinformation about how this war doesn't affect the U.S. supply of oil because we produce our own. The reality is that it does, because when the global supply drops, the price goes up. The Strait is the world's most important economic choke point, and we started a war without any plan to reopen it. You're already feeling it at the pump, at the grocery store, and just across the economy writ large. And the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for everyone. There's more analysis on Substack. Check out my podcast, the Mind Body Mushroom Pod, and follow, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below, what do you want to see more videos of? Let me know. Peace.
We have to talk about what just happened in the House of Representatives. A resolution was passed extending temporary legal status to Haitians. And the only reason it was passed was because 10 Republicans worked with Democrats to bypass Mike Johnson in a strategic move to get it to the floor for a vote. 10 Republicans. And it's being called a rare rebuke of the Trump administration policy as the Department of Homeland Security is trying to revoke 350,000 Haitians granted temporary protection status. And before I list the 10 Republicans who worked with Democrats to pass this, all credit goes to progressive Representative Ayanna Pressley, who led this discharge petition to bypass Project 2025's Mike Johnson. So the Republicans that voted for it include Representative Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, Mike Lawler of New York, Don Bacon, Nebraska, Maria Salazar, Florida, Carlos Jimenez of Florida, Nicole Maliotakis of New York, Rich McCormick of Georgia, Mike Turner of Ohio, Mike Carey of Ohio, Kevin Kiley of California. I hope I said their names correctly. Now, before anybody makes this into a feel-good story, because honestly, tears came to my eyes that they worked together to pass something to protect a group of people. You have to know that all 10 of these Republicans are in a purple district. Their seats are not safe. And in their district, Haitians fill a really huge employment gap, an employment shortage. They work in nursing homes and other industries because they can't find employees. So while their signing on to this was very self-serving to save their seats, I guess the bigger picture is there's a little win, and it's going against Donald Trump's crazy, inhumane administration.
The average American makes about $27 an hour. In 1 hour, Elon Musk makes $29,083,333. So when you're spending $4 on a gallon of gas, that's the equivalent of Elon Musk buying 9 gas stations. In my district, the average rent is $2,600 a month. In 1 hour, Elon Musk could pay your rent for 932 years. But we're all paying taxes, right? The average American pays between $7,000 to $12,000 in taxes this year. How much money do you think the trillion-dollar company Tesla paid? $0. And you know who you have to thank for that? Donald Trump. He's been making his billionaire friends wealthier and wealthier. My name is Musab Ali, and I think that we should hold billionaires accountable. I'm running for Congress to fight for everyday people. Election day is on June 2nd. If you haven't registered to vote yet, make sure you register by May 12th.
I hope you desperate and deranged Democrats enjoyed that disastrous 4 years that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was in there.
Yeah, actually, we enjoyed it quite much when all the inflation and the gas prices started going down after Trump's mishandling of COVID. So, yeah.
Because as it's going right now, you guys are never going to hold power again.
As what's going on right now? Because right now, nobody likes you guys. Nobody. Nobody in the world and nobody in this country. Yeah, I have receipts.
Your party, the Democrat Party that's been hijacked by the radical left lunatics.
Those radical left Democrats are the ones who are actually fixing the Democratic Party. It's those corporate and AIPAC Democrats that fucked it up.
Is polling at an all-time low because you guys have no policies. You have no good ideas of how you're going to improve the lives of everyday Americans. All you have is Trump derangement syndrome.
Ah, yes, the TDS argument, because none of you criticized Biden when he was president. Anyways, here's the receipts I was talking about earlier. Now, this poll was released by CNN just 2 weeks ago, and it outlines what each party thinks of both the midterms and their own party. And yes, I would agree that Republicans are probably liked more overall in the country than Democrats. But the reason being is this last little metric here, that Democrats dislike their party more than Republicans dislike their party. And I would say the reason for that is that Democrats put policy over party. If the Democratic Party overall is not supporting policies that we like anti-APAC or Medicare for all, we're going to dislike that party more and just vote on policy, which is how everybody should vote. But that's not the case for the Republican Party. They vote for party despite the policies. However, when it comes to the midterms, the first three metrics are what's important. With the first one, 96% of Democrats plan to vote for Democrats, where only 91% of Republicans plan to vote for Republican, which means either 9% of Republicans are staying home or they're going to be voting on the other side. And that's not good for Republicans either way. What the 2020 election showed is that when Democrats show up, we show up in record numbers because we have a higher population in this country than Republicans. So Biden ended up beating Trump by 8 million votes. Then the war in Gaza started, and a lot of Democrats weren't happy that the Democratic establishment was funding Israel and helping the genocide that's going on in Gaza. So a lot of them didn't vote in 2024, which is why Trump just barely beat Biden by 1 million votes. Which brings us to this year, and even last year. Last year, a lot of Republican seats flipped to Democrats, and a lot of establishment Democrats were voted out and replaced with more progressive Democrats. That excited the base, the more progressive base, and now the third metric, extremely motivated to vote in 2026. 60% of Democrats and only 50% of Republicans. That right there is the key that you guys are going to lose bad.
It's actually hilarious listening to Trump supporters say they're voting for Trump because they want lower taxes, when in reality, Kamala Harris is the only candidate that actually wants to lower taxes for over 100 million American citizens and won't raise taxes for anybody making less than $400,000 per year. Whereas Trump is only significantly lowering taxes for the top 5% of wealthiest Americans. Trump supporters either don't have an actual understanding of Trump's tax plan, or they think that Trump is going to make them millionaires overnight, but either way, they should know that Trump actually only has concepts of a plan for how he's going to magically improve our economy, which basically just includes putting extremely high tariffs on imported goods, and that would only make life more expensive for you and your family. Remember, this is the same guy who inherited Barack Obama's economy, took credit for it, and then destroyed it during his first term. The only thing impressive about Trump's economy is how he was able to add over $9 trillion to our national debt while simultaneously losing over 3 million American jobs. If Trump somehow becomes president again, we would be his 7th bankruptcy. We didn't vote for Trump because we wanted lower prices. We voted for him because we want him to make our country safe. This is the new level of cope that we are seeing from Trump supporters as they are so desperate to defend Donald Trump's actions. Even though Republicans were whining for months over how pricey everything was under the Biden administration, now that Trump is actually making things more expensive, they suddenly switch up real quick to talk about how they really just care about safety and they don't really mind things being more expensive. What happened to all the Republicans complaining about the price of eggs or how inflation was so out of control under Joe Biden's presidency? Y'all are real quiet now. Most embarrassing part for Trump supporters is the fact that Canada is specifically implementing higher prices and tariffs onto Republican states only. I wish I could say I feel bad for you, but honestly, you get what you voted for, and you're about to find out. So in conclusion, not only is Trump not bringing inflation down, but he's actually making things more expensive for you and your families. Good job.
So guys, today I want us to talk about something that is very important and emotional, We are going to talk about the black people's reaction to the president's economic plan, and I hope you'll love it, guys. We'll be here every day, same time, and yeah, let's talk about this because guys, Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, just like in some few days ago dropped his economic plan to the people of America so that they may get to know like what does the president really have for them. So the black Americans reacted, and that was in the most unserious but also in an honesty way. So I know it's funny, but we need to be serious about this at the end of the day because you know how it goes. Anytime when a politician starts to talk about fixing the economy, some people get to be hopeful, others get to ask a lot of questions. But if you talk about the black people in the United States of America, they'll be like, okay, let's see something first before you even talk about it. We need evidence first. Oh my God. So people are not like really excited. They're not angry. They're just like, let's wait and see. And honestly, my good people, that says a lot just by itself because people have had promises for so many years over. I mean, every each and every time a new politician comes in, they always talk about more jobs. They talk about booming economy. They talk about affordable affordable cost of living. They talk about so many good things, lower taxes, and then at the end of the day, it never happens. So at this point in time, people are like, okay, let's wait and see, or do something fast before you even explain what you wanna explain. Okay, my good people, it's funny because when you see black people, like most of the time, when they even discuss about these issues in any platform, be it on YouTube, Twitter, or just anywhere, for them, they don't really focus so much about the policy. I mean, they make it like it's kind of comedic in such a way, But at least, at the end of the day, you get to laugh, right? So the president's economic plan is really, really meant to support whatever they are doing so that, at the end of the day, an American gets to be helped and, their lives get to be improved. But again, seeing pictures and videos of people here and there talking about the economy in such a joking way, it really makes us even laugh and forget the problems that we had. So I don't know what you think about that, guys, but reality is that people are not doing well in America. Taxes are going high, groceries are going high. The president, when he's asked about it, like he doesn't really even care about it. I mean, nobody is really celebrating at the end of the day. But I can tell you that when it comes to economy and the black people, when they just listen to a politician promise anything, they'll be like, oh man, just do it fast so that we get to see if it's true or not. Anyway, people always when it comes to the economy, people always get to ask the real question: is it going to, is your plan going to lower the rent? Is your plan going to make groceries affordable? Is the economic plan going to rise, or when it comes to wages, is it going to go up? Because that's the only thing that people always pray for and wish for, because what's the point of cost of living going up and the wages remaining constant? It doesn't make sense at all, right? So I don't know what to think about the entire clip, but I truly appreciate the fact that you watched. I'll see you in the next video. That's now tomorrow.